What's up, good people? This is section 2.4, Write Equations of Lines. I wanted to show you, these are the formulas we've got to make sure we have memorized and just at the tip of our tongue. Slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. Point slope form, might be a little new. We've got y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Definition of slope, we've been using that, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. But then slope can also just be rise over run. If we got that locked in, then this section is going to be a lot easier. You might see something like write the equation of a line in slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form, so what is that? Oh, yeah, that's y equals mx plus b right here. Okay. So if they give you that the slope is 3/4 and the y-intercept b is -1, then you just put it in the formula. Y equals 3/4 x plus -1/2. Take the numbers, put them in for m and for b. Next. Approximately 38,000 people played college softball in the 2024 season, a notable increase from the estimated 26,000 players in the 2014 season. At this rate, how many will be playing in 2030? Now here comes the power of math. It's all in prediction, really. If you assume that things are going at a steady rate, we can actually we can use slope to figure out how many, to figure out the future, really. All right, let's see if we can organize all this information into a table. So we've got 3 different years going on. We got 2014, which is like almost, over 10 years ago. We have the 2024 season, which is at the time of this recording, the most current data that we have. It takes a while to collect all the data. And then we've got our predicted year of 2030. X. Let's define our variables. Okay, so we want to say, it doesn't say that you should choose x anywhere here in this problem, but we know there's going to be, if we're going to have an equation, we know we've got to have an x and a y. If we're going to graph things, we're going to find slope, we need something to be x and something to be y. And generally, most often, x is going to be equal to time, especially when you're doing things at a constant rate, or things are going if things are being expressed over time, you want to say how quickly are things happening in time, then x is going to be time. And you could use, I've seen students actually use x equals 2014, then x equals 2024, then x equals 2030. And so the slope would be, this would be y2 and -1. But these are they're really large numbers when you think about it. And everything is going to be a lot easier to graph if you have small numbers. So what we're going to say, that x is not exactly going to be the year. It's going to be the year after 2014, when this whole experiment data software, this data story began. The first year, the not year one, but like when it all begins is 2014. So years after 2014, it's actually going to be 0. 0 years after 2014. That's a much easier number to work with. If you declare x to be years after, everyone say it with me, years after, right, 2014. So then how many years after, you can do the subtraction and say that there's 10 years after this, and do the subtraction again and get 16. 16 years after this whole story began is what we want our prediction to be. And then we could, if you wanted to, you really could type in, 38,000 with all the zeros, but I just think it's a lot easier to declare y to be in thousands of players. So in 2014, there were how many thousand? There were 26,000. And in 2024, how many thousand were there? There were 38,000. So really, this y value is going to be just brought down to a much more manageable size if you just declare y to be in thousands of players. And of course, we don't know what the whole goal is to figure out what the future year of 2030 looks like. So let's find the slope. y2 minus y1. If you don't have the slope in chapter 2, if you don't have the slope, make that a very early goal. Definitely find a slope in a word problem, anything. If you don't have the slope, chances are we're looking for a slope. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. This is going to be y2, y1, x2, x1. And so we have 38 minus 26, thousands of players, and 10 minus 0, years. So it looks like there were a change of 12,000 players over 10 years. And if you divide those two, you get 1.2 thousand players per year. Units are really super important in something like this because we're telling a story, and anytime you're telling a story, you need units in order to do it. And the more often you can include units, the more often you're gonna understand what story you're telling, and communicate that to other people as well. So when x, we just happen to know what the b is here, but if we didn't, we could use point slope form to find it. So, but I'm just going to simply say that because x is 0, then we know the y-intercept is 26 right here from this thing. So the equation is going to be y equals 1.2x plus 26. Like again, if we didn't have this b readily available here, then we could use point slope form to get it. But you know what? Maybe that's another reason why this is such a good idea years after 2014, because this will always give you a 0 here, and then this will be your y-intercept always. Okay, so 1.2 thousand players per year plus a starting amount of 26,000 players. So you want to know what about what's happening in 2030? You can actually take that 16 and plug it in. Y equals 1.2, because every year you're going to get 1.2 thousand players per year. So this will happen 16 times. Every year you get another 1.2 thousand. We're assuming it's going at the same rate. So then you multiply and you add, and you get 4.2 thousand players. What that means is you're going to have 45,200 players in the year 2030. So and this is predicting the future. How good is the prediction? It's only as good as this assumption that it's going to stay at the same rate. It's going to keep on growing at the same rate. And you know what? It's not perfect, because I don't know, the Caitlin Clark of softball could emerge, and all of a sudden, thousands more girls or thousands more players flock to softball as a fun thing, and then that could even go even higher. So who knows? But it's a good way to predict the future. All right, let's take a look at this rise over run business. Let's say you're given a line like this. You can actually just do the rise and the run, and then rise over run could be y equals mx plus b. You could just put that 4 over 4, and the y-intercept would be -2. Just reading it up right off the graph, you go run 4, rise 4. If you label it, it's a lot easier to see. Y equals -2. Down here, the y-intercept is -2. So you plug it all in, you get 4 over 4, which simplifies down to 1. All right. This, by the way, this word problem is very easily turned into a project. So I went out and I just Googled how many softball players are there right now, and how many softball players were there 10 years ago. And Google is very good at spitting back data. And so this is just like a mini version of a project that you could do. Write an equation for the line that passes through, and then it gives you all these different versions of like information it could give you. Write an equation for the line that passes through 5, 4, and has a slope of -3. All right, so we have the slope. We don't. That should be. If you don't have the slope, that should be the first thing you find. But here, thankfully, we do. So let's go with it. We've got a point and a slope. Let's use point slope form. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Great math students definitely write down the formula every time, just as a way of practicing. Let's put in our information. The slope is -3. It'll go right here. The x1 is going to be 5. It'll go right here, and the 4 will go right here. So we got y minus 4 is equal to -3 times x minus x1. Great. So technically this is an answer that you can just report, especially because it doesn't specify the format of what we're looking for. So write an equation for the line passes. Yeah, it just says write an equation. It doesn't say write it in slope-intercept form or point-slope form. It doesn't specify a format. So you could report this. But if it did say, and also make sure it's in y equals mx plus b slope-intercept form, then what you could do is you could distribute, for example. This -3 times x is -3x. -3 times -5 turns into a plus 15. And then you could add 4 to both sides, and you get y equals -3x plus whatever's under the red dot. All right, let's write an equation for the line that passes through 5, -2 and 2, 10. Do I have the slope yet? No, I don't have the slope. All right, I should probably find that first. All right, so we're going to go, I have 2 points. I can label them x1, y1, x2, y2. And then I'm going to plug them into a formula. M is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. y2, y1, x2, x1. Then minus a negative, I'm going to do 10. 10 is the y2. Negative 2 is the y1. 2 is the x2, and 5 is the x1. We're going to do minus a negative. It turns into a plus. And then 2 minus 3 is negative 3. Anyway, this turns into 12 over negative 3, which simplifies to negative 4. What do we do next? I got the slope. I want an equation for a line. And so I have a slope, and I have 2 different points. I just need one for point slope form. It doesn't matter which one you choose. I usually choose the first one. So then I have the slope. I'll put it right here. And I have x1. I'll put it right here. And I have x2. I'll put it right here. So this is y1 minus negative 2 equals negative 4 times x minus 5. And actually, we've just satisfied the requirements. It doesn't specify a format. But sometimes it would say, write the equation in slope-intercept form. And we'd have to go a little bit further. And so I think the first thing I can do is distribute. Negative 4 times x is negative 4x. Negative 4 times minus 5 is plus 20. And then this minus negative turns into plus. I'm going to take another step to subtract the 2 from both sides. And this is what I get. Now it's in slope-intercept form. By the way, I wanted to take a moment to say that for your audio check, I was in the Boy Scouts, and I'm thankful to my mom for pushing me through. I really didn't want to do it. I was kind of like burned out a little bit, but she made me stick with it, and and thanks to her, I'm an Eagle Scout. If you are in the Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts or any other youth organization, why don't you let me know when you come to class, and I'd love to hear about it. Negative 2, comma 3, and is parallel to, we want to write an equation that goes through this point and is parallel to this this equation. Do I have the slope yet? Not on the slope. So first thing to do, find the slope. Well, if it says it's parallel to this equation, then it should have the same exact slope. The slope is going to be negative 4 of my mystery line down here, because it's got to be parallel to the line that's given. So both of those lines are going to have a slope of negative 4. Then, so I've got slope, I've got a point. Let's do point slope form. There's the formula. Y minus y1 is equal to x is equal to m times x minus x1. Plug in my information. I'm going to use the point. 3 goes here. Negative 2, the x goes over here. And then the negative 4 is the slope. All right, we got to simplify. Oh, no, we don't. We don't. This is an equation, and when the instructions say write an equation, then you can put it in any form you want. You could actually legit just type this in, and it would be, or just leave it on a quiz, and that would be correct. All right. Next, we've got a slope and is perpendicular to y equals negative 4x plus 1. Okay, so I'm changing things around a little bit. This is the same problem, except I'm going to go perpendicular. So the slope is not going to be equal to negative 4. It's going to be the opposite reciprocal. This is negative, so the perpendicular slope has got to be, this slope is negative 4. So the perpendicular slope has got to be the not negative but positive, and not 4, but its reciprocal, 1 over 4. Remember, 4 is the same. Negative 4 is the same thing as negative 4 over 1, and when you flip it, you get 1/4. Okay, so 1/4 is the opposite reciprocal of negative 4. I've got a slope. I've got a point. Let's do point slope form. Y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. And plug in what we got. That might be it, y'all. Thanks. Bring your questions, and I'll see you in class. Take care.